What is up, Internet world, and welcome back to Accelerate. My name is Mike, and the man behind the camera is Ian, and today we bring the 2023 Ford Escape. I want to give a big shout out to Brydges Ford for loaning us this all-new, fully refreshed Ford Escape. It is now in its 4.5 generation because it was launched in 2020, but they've cleaned it up, they've tightened it, and we're excited to show you right here on Accelerate. In the 2023 Ford Escape ST line. Now, I don't have the 1.5 turbocharged motor underneath here, I have the 2-liter turbocharged motor, and it makes 250 horsepower and 280 pound-feet of torque. Now, I shut off start and stop, foot to the ground, foot to the gasolina, and let's go. Let's see what this thing does. Okay. Let's go. Ah, there we go. 6.93. I think we got a little bit better in her. Foot to the ground and go. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. This is definitely better than 6.93. Come on. 6.86. Better. That's what we got, 6.86. Anything in the sixes is good.
All right, I'm not sure if Mike had it in sport mode, so let's try this in sport mode. .5.
You have 7 different trim levels with one extra one. So let's start at the top. You get base, then you get the active, then you get the ST line, and then you get the ST line select, which is what this one is. Then you get the platinum, which says goodbye to the titanium, no more titanium, platinum. And then you get the top dog, the ST line elite. But here's some complicated pieces. You can get them all in all-wheel drive, but the base, the active, and the ST line come front-wheel drive standard. Then you ask, what about a hybrid? Well, the hybrid is available in every single one with the exception of the base and the active. And then, what about the last hidden one? Well, the hidden one is the plug-in hybrid that's all by itself. So hopefully that was right, because that was a lot to compute in this little brain of mine. Thank you. To the front of the all-new Ford Escape. And because they like to make things complicated, they have something called coast-to-coast light bar. And that goes from here all the way down to the other end to widen the vehicle. But that is only available on the Platinum and up. But also does one more thing. You see these headlights right here? They actually have the same design as the Golf R. Now we'll spend time on this, the Select version, and we'll start with its standard headlight. You have a nice clean DRL that stretches and wraps around the side of this Escape. It says Ford LED, and you have this nice amber LED that is bright. Now moving around the corner, you have an altered front hood, and you have a bumper that's been edged out. You have these fog lights, and then look at this grille. It's been widened. It looks more edgy. Now on this grille, you have the big Ford logo. Now if you're wondering, can I get a front camera? Yes, you can. Yes, you can with the 360 package. It does have this nice black trim all the way around the grille to widen it up. And then when you look lower in the bumper, it's not a flat piece like back in the day with the old Escapes. This looks a lot more car-like. It's more modern. It's more Infiniti QX60. Jokes aside, you have your front radar here, and then you have this silver piece on the bottom to sort of differentiate it up a little bit. Now, as I expose this beautiful engine, I will tell you it does have a nice insulating panel on the back of the hood. That's nice. Not that heavy. To the side of the Ford Escape. So I was in a plane yesterday, and I was scrolling through the interwebs, and I saw a Mazda CX-30 in red that looked identical to the Ferrari SUV. Now check this out. This is blue, and we reviewed a car recently. Maserati, Grecale, ta-da! So I'll start off by telling you can get 17, 18, or these 19-inch black wheels. Then you have the ST line logo right there. This does not have 360 camera because we didn't option it. Then on the side, nice and clean Ford with the exception of a bump out right there. Look at this. This is cool. I really like what they've done here with these lower door moldings. Now, we haven't talked about this in a really, really long time, but here on Accelerate, we used to always talk about inner fender liners. And the only reason I'm bringing it up now is because this Ford Escape has carpet inner fender liner on the front and the back. To the back of the all-new Ford Escape. Take a look at it. Do you notice the difference? I'll tell you. It's these taillights. Now, this design is different. It still says Escape right here. It still has this rear wiper. Your camera's hiding right there. You, of course, have one of these bad boys. You can tow anywhere from 1,500 pounds to 2,000 pounds. And then you have these really awkward exhaust tips. But hey, they're legit. Whew. Wow. This is the biggest change. It's a 13.2-inch screen. It runs Ford's latest sync system that has obviously wireless CarPlay. And then you have a 12.3-inch driver's display. Sick, sick. That makes the difference. I know it's crazy, but if you don't have it in today's world, like Bronco, Sport, do you got it? So if we're talking about change, we really won't talk about the door panels. We're going to really just focus on the dash and how it's slightly different than the Bronco Sport when driving it. You see, this has a very tapered front hood, whereas the Bronco Sport doesn't have that. This is all modernized. The Bronco Sport, not really. This is very clean inside. Even the start and stop button is nice and silver. And there's no other crazy buttons in here. There's no clunkiness. It's just modernized really, really well. And next to your start and stop buttons are 4 hard buttons and a rotary knob. So if we start off with that, you have your driver assistance button, your auto start and stop disengage, then you have your front ventilation, and then you have your sport, all your different drive modes right there. Very clean, Ford. Very, very clean. And of course, everybody wants a rotary knob to adjust your volume. Now the center console is pretty much the same as the last version, nothing to talk about here. Same with the center armrest. I will say though that there's no buttons here to control your HVAC. It is all done through the 13.2-inch screen now. All here, no lie. Standard, you get 6 speakers, and if you opt for the upgraded Bang & Olufsen, you get 10. And because now for 2023, they have the ST line, you get all this fancy red stitching wherever your eyes can see. You've got these sporty seats that are fairly bolstered. You have a flat bottom steering wheel, which is a thumbs up on a little baby SUV. At least that's what I like to call it. But everything else in here is unchanged. All the steering wheel buttons are the same as the other Escapes, even the Bronco Sport. It has your cruise control adaptive, of course. It keeps you in your lane. This one does. And of course, you can adjust all your volume, blah, 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 blah. But this is the big news. So you get an 8-inch driver's display standard as well as an 8-inch infotainment standard. But you can opt for the 12.3-inch display for the driver and then the 13.2-inch masterpiece here for everybody else in the vehicle. Now I will say off the bat, this 13.2-inch screen with Sync 4, the latest version for 2023, is great. Way better than the Honda CR-V and this Bronco Sport that's sitting in the Accelerate studio in front of me. Now, as I mentioned, all your HVAC controls are on the bottom here and that stays fixed. Easy to use by hitting this button. It's exactly like the Mach-E, up and down. And then if you want to adjust your fan speed, up and down. Very easy. Now it takes about a second for it to go away, but once it's gone, like now, I can hit other buttons such as your heated seats. 1, 2, well, maybe not that easy, but you get the drift. Now this is how your home screen is laid out. That is the home button. Of course, you have your time, the outside temperature, all your Wi-Fi over-the-air updates that this can do. And then you have different widgets and of course buttons. So if I hit settings here, voila, this is what you're probably used to seeing if you own a Ford currently. But this is the latest version. Again, very easy. And then you have all your widgets on the right side here, different pairings for your phone. But I really want to see what features is all about. So when I hit the features button, check this out. You have your drive modes, driver assistance, towing, and then of course your owner's manual. not as exciting as I expected, Ford. Then you have your apps. When I hit apps, voila, this is where most people are going to use Apple CarPlay. Now, we couldn't find a way to activate the rear camera. The only way we knew how was to start the car and put it in reverse. And I will tell you that the quality is excellent, way better than the Bronco Sport and the CR-V. Back seat of the Ford Escape. Now, first things first is seating height. This sits very high. It doesn't sit low. You don't feel like you're slouching in the back. You sit fairly upright if you'd like to, like this. But look at my height. Like somebody 6'3" could easily fit in the back here. I like the way this seat positioning is set up in the back of this Escape. This being an ST line, you have red stitching, cool cloth inserts with this sort of faux vinyl, I guess you can call it. You have decent sized cup holders in typical Ford fashion. And of course, because it's an ST line, I have a nice black headliner. The door panels, well, they're typical plasticky. Obviously, this is still an entry point, smaller SUV. You can still fit a Gatorade or a Powerade in the door pretty easily. There's a bit of storage, not a lot of storage. This has 6 speakers in the back. It's got one measly USB for each person on the side. Nobody in the middle gets a USB. That's poo-poo. You should have 3, Ford. You have to care about all of us, not just the big boys on either side. The other thing I will say about sitting in the back here is that you can move these seats differently than anything else in its class for the most part. You can do this. You see, this is a win. This is what an Audi Q5 offers. Nice. And then you can do this, making it more flexible. Gone is the kick power trunk for 2023. But of course you have a power trunk, and they are smart, and I'm so happy that it's centered. The button to pop the trunk right in the center. Of course it is height adjustable, and I'll show you how. I can pull this down a wee little smidge, hold this. Now, if you're looking for the largest vehicle in its class, you'll probably want to consider the Outlander, maybe the Tucson, maybe the CR-V that we have reviewed. But here in the Escape, how much room do you have? So we'll measure it up, and I will tell you as far as width goes, you have 43.5 inches. As far as depth goes, you have 35 inches. And if you're asking, do I still have a tire repair kit? The answer is no. They've stepped up their game and they've given you an actual tire. Thanks, Ford. Now, if you're wondering how much room you have with the seats folded down, well, I will tell you. From the back of the rear center console, you have about 68 inches or so. Now, one interesting thing to note is something like the Mazda has handles here that you can put the seats down. In this, you have to walk to each side, pull the handle on the seat, and then the seats fold down, and that's how they go down. There's no way to put the seats back down from here. It's kind of annoying. Now, one thing to note is the lighting in the back. If you're taking this thing off-roading, there's not much light back here. There's no light hiding up here. The only light there is this small little LED up here, but this is more like a general, measly little light to kind of show you can see something here, but it's not targeted. If you want a vehicle that targets it, well, look at its buddy, that guy. You have 2 targeted lights that are hidden on this side and this side in this actual tail section. That's different than the Escape. Now with the Escape, you have 4 available powertrains. As I mentioned, the 1.5 liter, you get the 2 liter that's in this that makes lots of power, and I suggest getting this over the 1.5 liter. Even though the 3-cylinder sounds really, really appealing, this thing packs way more of a punch. And then of course you can get the plug-in hybrid and then a full-out hybrid. But we're going to focus on the specific spec of this one because it is an ST line. And what an ST line gives you, it doesn't give you the full-up performance ST like say the Edge does, but it gives you sporty appearance looks with some fancier different wheels. Cool. Now for those that are interested in the hybrid or plug-in hybrid versions, they're both powered by a 2.5 liter Atkinson cycle engine. Now, the thing is that they make slightly different horsepower but the same torque. If you bought the hybrid, you get 200 horsepower and 155 pound-feet of torque. And if you get the plug-in hybrid, you make 221 horsepower and 155 pound-feet of torque. Again, same deal, just different horsepower. And depending on your lifestyle, you'd want the hybrid versus the plug-in hybrid. But for me, I like this guy because this one has the most power. Foot to the ground.
Hey guys, Ian here. I'm the man behind the camera usually, but today I thought I would talk in this video just because I've driven a lot of Escapes in the past. So last year my wife and I went on a trip to Utah and Arizona, and we rented a Ford Escape, and it had the 1.5 liter in it, and man, it was slow. It was not that good. And it jittered, it had the transmission jittered, it didn't feel very good. There were a lot of rattles, but it was a rental car, so it had probably been abused. But what I would say is that it was a really comfy car to drive around in, and this is no different. But with this 2-liter engine, it really makes it a much more enjoyable experience. There's ample amount of passing power if you're cruising out on the country roads or highway.
So coincidentally, we also have a Bronco Sport this week. So we thought, hey, why not give you some fluff from that one? And I will tell you that they don't drive the same. People are like, it's the same. Well, yes, the Escape and the Bronco Sport are the same, but they don't drive the same. Not this or that. This one is more nimble. This one is more car-like. This one feels more premium, but it's also quieter in here. Although the seats, I do prefer the Bronco Sport. And on these seats, for some weird reason, these ones feel a little bit, I wouldn't say cheap, but I feel like the Bronco Sport has better seats. Flip the ground. And that is it. This thing goes really well. The Bronco Sport we have has the 1.5 liter, the 3-cylinder. So you can see that is a little bit chuggish. This one is not. This one just goes really well. Although you can get that in this one as well. So hey, don't buy that engine, buy this one. So the point of me driving these cars is not to basically say how great they are, but it's really to find flaws in them. And that's what I really try to find, something I don't like about it, but there's not too much I don't like about it because I know in the back of my head what it costs. So I can't be overly picky about everything. Maybe a little bit more insulation, but still decent. It's not bad. Maybe less plastic, but there's not too much anymore. Yeah. It's very minimal, that's for sure. It's not full of buttons. So here's the problem with the Ford Escape, is availability. People have already told me that not everybody can get their hands on one. And we couldn't either. We could only get it from a dealer. And that dealer is Brydges Ford. And they've hooked us up with all kinds of cars before, so thank you, Brydges Ford, because you have given us a Ford Escape that we could not get our hands on from the manufacturer. Strange. And that is because they've had issues in their plant pumping out vehicles. They were closed for 2 weeks, sometime in March. And yeah, because they've done that, you can't even get the Corsairs. They made a very small amount of them, which is basically the same kind of deal. So yeah, Ford Escape, even if you want one, probably not the easiest to get one. Let me know if in your city you can get a Ford Escape, because I'd like to know how the inventory levels are. So the Ford Escape has a lot of good attributes, but I will say that this segment is so competitive. Like, just take, for instance, its competition. Like, listen to this. You got the Equinox, the CR-V, the Tucson, the Cherokee, the Sportage, the CX-5, the Rogue, the Forester, and of course, the RAV4. I mean, it's so busy. And each one of those have something good about them. And maybe don't. So what do you pick? I always say it comes down to interest rates, always, because everybody's like payment in this segment. Styling for sure. Now that it has all this big fancy fluff with digital displays and all that stuff, we're all kind of aligned with everybody else. So hey, what do you pick? Life is hard, man. Life is hard. But if you have glaring differences on why you'd buy this Escape, let me know in the comments below. As always, we appreciate your support, and thanks for watching. Catch you in the next one.